Parks and Recreation Director for Ashland Parks and Rec, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be here, and I'm even more thrilled to see the wonderful turnout that we have here this evening. To have all you folks come out really reaffirms a lot of things to me, one of which is reaffirms how much Ashland truly cares, deeply cares, and respects its history, its traditions, its facilities, and its parks and recreation. For me, that's a true honor to be able to be here at this point in time in history and to be able to share this rededication of these two beautiful facilities with you folks. I too want to acknowledge all the folks that were acknowledged earlier, so consider yourself re-acknowledged, but I really want to take a moment and thank our musicians this evening. In particular, I want to thank our soloist, Lauren Green. Please do applaud, it's wonderful. Our artistic director, Banya Podolnaya. I hope I didn't mess that up too much. And I'd also like to thank President Roy Sutton for our evening together. Sure.
Yeah, we're scheduled to do 2 numbers. If you got anyone that didn't get the program, we've got programs. But anyway, the first one is to be the vocal "Think of Me," but the microphone isn't working up here. If you were down there when we had the warm-up, you heard it. I thought, though it's from Phantom of the Opera, it's really you can put it in this context. The pioneers 100 years ago maybe were singing to us, "Think of me fondly." They did. And what the Parks and Recreation now is doing, maybe in 100 years, they'll think of us fondly. So, but since we can't do that number, we'll do our last number, which is Fisher's Hornpipe. If any of you like the program, which says something about Siskiyou violins, I'll mingle around.
So once again, the Siskiyou violinist.
Unfortunately, they memorized their music. This is too dark to see. Scores.
1, 2, 3.
Thank you very much. Give him a minute here. One of the things that I've learned in the past 10 years is just how generous the Ashland community has been for all the fine civic improvements that we have to be responsible for. That tradition has begun over 100 years ago. And this facility and the previous facility that we just dedicated are really direct reflections of it. But everywhere you look within our community, you can see other areas, other contributions that have woven their way into our community's fabric. Directly across the street with the Butler Parazzi Fountain, another fine donation. Contributions of all the other bridges, all the other amenities that you see, everything right down to picnic tables, many of which have been donated by members of our community. What we're doing tonight is just a small portion of all those things, but I think what we're doing is really representative of all those things that have been given to us as citizens of this fine community. I'd like to invite John Enders forward and ask John to bring his family with him and introduce his family. About 100 years ago, the Enders family graciously gifted this facility to our community. Just a little bit ago, I was fortunate to receive another fine contribution from the Enders family to help preserve and take care of this facility into the future. So with that, I'd like to introduce John Enders and the Enders family.
Thank you all for being here. I'm going to say a couple words after I introduce my siblings and other family members. One sibling, sorry, and her husband. Tanya Enders Beach is my oldest sister. Her husband, Gary Beach, is here with her. We have another sister, Victoria, who lives in Sedona and just couldn't make it. Somebody has to work. Margarita Enders, come, Toady, come. Once an Enders, always an Enders. Okay. Our granddaughter, Hope, the youngest of the brood. And
John Stromberg.
oh, John, yeah. I'm glad to have you in the family. I think that's all. I think that's all fun. And my son, her father, who's also having to work this evening. And of course, there are others. Our daughter, Tanya's daughters, elsewhere around the world, but they are here in spirit. Our great-grandfather, Henry Enders Sr., arrived in 1907 from Cheyenne, Wyoming, apparently deciding that Wyoming winters were a little too harsh. And they thought they found paradise on earth, and they were obviously correct. And Henry had a son, also Henry Enders Jr., our grandfather, who together, those two men, they're often confused because they had the exact same name, H.T. Enders. But the senior Enders, who built this structure and was responsible for building the Enders building where Bloomsbury and the Columbia Hotel are, and basically dragging business up out of the plaza up onto the hill, was a gentle and unprepossessing man who his son used to say that he'd take his lunch breaks and plant flowers in Lithia Park, and sometimes would be mistaken for a jail crew by ladies walking through the park because he was on hands and knees planting flowers around the park. And our grandfather carried on that tradition, and we do too, in the way that we love Ashland and are dedicated to this town. It's a very special town. Although not all of us live here right now, we are here in spirit. And you know, one thing I got to say, the Enders men always are, you know, the men are the ones who write the history books, so except for Marjorie. And so the Enders women don't always get the credit that they deserve. But behind every Enders man, there's several Enders women. And so Hope, I just want you to know, you have a lot of pressure on you to carry on in that tradition. The whole family is grateful, and I don't know if anybody else would like to say anything, but I'm speaking for myself and my sister in Arizona and my son. We're incredibly grateful for this opportunity to welcome you here, and thank you to Don and Bruce and everybody at the Parks Department who've just done an outstanding job. The way this town respects and honors its history is unique, and this is a good example of that. Thank you all.
Well, John, on behalf of the Ashland Parks Commission, the Ashland City Council, and the citizens of Ashland, I'd like to present this photograph of the Enders Shelter to you and your family. And thank you for your generosity over the nearly century of contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you. says, now how are we going to split this 12 ways? Thanks a lot. Now what am I going to do?
I don't know. I'll let you figure that one out.